Imagine an army that didn't fight with guns, but with paint, sound, and illusion. An army that created tanks out of rubber, convoys out of canvas, and battles out of pure imagination. In the chaos of World War II, when every inch of Europe was under fire, a secret American unit went to war, not to destroy, but to deceive. They were called the Ghost Army, and for decades their story was classified. Today, we reveal how a group of artists, designers, sound engineers, and misfits used creativity to save thousands of lives and trick the Nazis into seeing an army that never existed. In 1944, as Allied forces advanced across Europe after D-Day, the U.S. Army faced a serious problem. The Germans were masters of intelligence, fast to detect troop movements, quick to reinforce weak points. So the U.S. decided to fight deception with deception. From a top-secret order came the creation of the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops, a unit of just over 1,000 men with one extraordinary mission: to impersonate entire divisions, sometimes 20 to 30,000 soldiers, and make the enemy believe they were facing overwhelming force. These weren't hardened soldiers. They were art students from New York, radio producers from Chicago, Hollywood set designers, and even fashion illustrators. Men who once painted landscapes were now painting camouflage nets, creating fake tanks, and designing fake battlefields. As one member later said, "We were a traveling roadshow of deception, putting on the biggest show on earth, only the enemy was our audience." Tools of illusion. The Ghost Army used 4 main weapons: visual, sonic, radio, and theatrical deception. First, visual deception. Using lightweight inflatable tanks, jeeps, trucks, and artillery, they could set up what looked like an armored division overnight. From the air, these decoys looked absolutely real. Even up close, enemy scouts could see tire tracks, smoke from fake campfires, and soldiers moving around, all part of the act. Second, sonic deception. Hollywood sound engineers helped record hours of authentic battlefield noise, trucks rumbling, tanks rolling, even men shouting commands. The recordings were blasted through massive speakers that could be heard 15 miles away, creating the illusion of an approaching army. Third, radio deception. Special radio operators imitated the signals of entire divisions, mimicking the tone and rhythm of real operators. German intelligence, which relied heavily on radio interception, completely bought the act. And fourth, theatrical deception. Soldiers wore fake insignias, drove jeeps marked with different unit numbers, and casually spread rumors in nearby towns to sell the illusion. They acted their parts like method actors in a war zone. As one veteran put it, "We were artists in uniform, performing on the most dangerous stage imaginable." In 1944 and for 1945, the Ghost Army conducted more than 20 deception missions across France, Belgium, Luxembourg, and Germany. Each operation had one goal: confuse Hitler's army long enough for real divisions to move safely. One of their first major missions was near the Siren River, when they faked a large crossing to divert German artillery away from the real bridgehead. It worked. German shells rained down on empty fields filled with rubber tanks. Another mission, Operation Betterbong in Luxembourg, was one of their most dangerous. The Ghost Army had to simulate an entire armored division directly in front of a German position. They set up dummy tanks, ran fake patrols, and blasted recorded sounds of moving armor all night. The deception was so convincing that the Germans delayed their attack, believing a massive U.S. reinforcement had arrived. But perhaps their most famous success came during Operation Viersen in March 1945, the crossing of the Rhine River. The Ghost Army pretended to be the 30th and 79th Infantry Divisions, positioning over 10 miles of inflatable equipment while the real divisions slipped quietly elsewhere. The ruse fooled German commanders completely. Allied casualties were drastically reduced, and the crossing was a success. Their illusions didn't just save lives, they saved time, shortening the war itself. Life inside the Ghost Army. Despite the playful creativity, their missions were deadly serious. They operated close to the front lines, often within artillery range. If discovered, they had almost no defense. One man recalled, "We were armed with paintbrushes and phonographs against tanks and machine guns." Some soldiers died during these missions. Others narrowly escaped when enemy scouts got too close. At night, these men would sketch what they saw, war not from the perspective of destruction, but illusion. Many of those sketches and paintings still exist today, surreal, haunting, and beautiful. They remind us that even in war, creativity became a weapon. The secret they kept. After the war ended, their work remained a secret. Every member of the Ghost Army was sworn to silence. Their missions were classified for more than 40 years, buried deep in U.S. Army archives. Only in the 1990s did the public learn the full story. By then, most of the men were in their 70s or 80s, artists who had quietly carried one of the war's strangest secrets. In 2022, the U.S. Congress finally awarded the Ghost Army the Congressional Gold Medal, recognizing their courage and brilliance. As one surviving member said, "We fought a war with imagination, and imagination won." The Ghost Army never fired a shot in anger, yet their deception saved tens of thousands of lives. They turned art into strategy, illusion into defense, and creativity into survival. This was the Ghost Army, the artists who fooled the Nazis and proved that sometimes the sharpest weapon is the human mind.